There is a quiet place within you that has never been hurried, never been anxious, never been afraid of time. It is the part of you that existed before the first worry ever crossed your mind, before you learned to measure your worth by outcomes, deadlines, or approval. And it is from this place that I want to speak to you now, not to your fear, not to your racing thoughts, but to the still awareness beneath them. Because the truth is simple, even if the mind resists it, God has not left you. Life is not punishing you. And this waiting you are experiencing is not a mistake, it is a sacred pause, an invitation to remember who you are beyond thought. So many people struggle while they wait, waiting for answers, for healing, for love, for direction, for clarity, for a sign that they are on the right path. And in that waiting, the mind begins to overwork, to analyze, to replay the past and rehearse the future, as if vigilance alone could summon peace. But overthinking does not protect you. It does not prepare you. It does not bring you closer to truth. It only creates noise where guidance is meant to be heard. The soul does not shout, it whispers. And whispers cannot be heard in a storm of mental chatter. You were not created to live in constant tension with life. You were not designed to wrestle reality into submission. The universe does not require your anxiety to function properly. God does not need your panic to fulfill what is already unfolding. When you try to force outcomes with the mind, you unknowingly step out of alignment with the intelligence that has been guiding your breath, your heartbeat, and your existence since the moment you arrived here. That intelligence has not failed you. It has not abandoned you. It has simply been waiting for you to stop interfering with fear and start cooperating with trust. Notice how nature waits without worry. A seed does not overthink whether it will become a tree. It does not compare itself to other seeds. It does not panic because the soil is dark or the process feels slow. It rests in the certainty of what it is. And because it does not resist the process, it grows. You, too, carry this same certainty within you. But the ego, the false self that believes it must control everything to be safe, has convinced you that waiting is dangerous, that not knowing is unacceptable, that stillness is a threat. And so the mind keeps spinning, believing that if it just thinks a little more, worries a little harder, plans a little tighter, peace will finally arrive. But peace does not arrive through mental effort. Peace is revealed when effort falls away. Waiting is not a punishment. Waiting is preparation, not preparation for something outside of you, but preparation for a deeper alignment within you. In the waiting, life is softening you, quieting you, detaching you from illusions you once believed you needed. In the waiting, you are being guided away from outcomes that no longer match who you are becoming. And the mind resists this because it is attached to old identities, old timelines, old definitions of success and worth. The ego says, I should be further along by now. The soul says, you are exactly where you need to be. You are not behind, you are not late, you are not forgotten. These are stories created by a mind that has mistaken time for truth. God does not operate on your calendar. The universe does not rush what must unfold organically. What is meant for you is not delayed, it is ripening. And just as fruit cannot be forced to sweeten before its time, your life cannot be hurried into alignment without losing its nourishment. Overthinking is the mind's attempt to replace faith with control. But faith is not blind belief, it is alignment with what already is. It is the deep inner knowing that life is happening for you, not to you. It is the willingness to rest in uncertainty without labeling it as danger. When you stop fighting the present moment, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel supported again. Not because circumstances suddenly change, but because you reconnect with the source of peace that was never dependent on circumstances in the first place. God is not somewhere else, waiting for you to get it right. God is the awareness reading these words. God is the quiet presence beneath your thoughts. God is the stillness that remains when you stop narrating your fears. And when you remember this, waiting transforms from a burden into a sanctuary. It becomes a place where you can breathe again, where you can loosen your grip, where you can allow life to meet you halfway instead of chasing it in circles. The ego thrives on tension. It feeds on comparison, urgency, and imagined catastrophes. It tells you that if you relax, you will miss something. That if you stop worrying, something will go wrong. But look honestly at your life. Has worry ever truly saved you? Or has it only stolen moments that could have been lived in peace? The ego does not want you present because presence dissolves its authority. In the now, fear has no future to project and no past to regret. In the now, you are free. Healing does not happen by obsessing over what is broken. Healing happens when you stop identifying with the wound and start identifying with the awareness that observes it. You are not your thoughts. You are not your fears. You are not the stories you replay about what should have happened or what might happen next. You are the space in which all of this appears, and that space is calm, infinite, and untouched by time. When you wait without trust, waiting feels like stagnation. But when you wait with faith, waiting becomes incubation. Something is forming within you: clarity, resilience, wisdom, compassion. And these qualities cannot be rushed. They emerge naturally when you stop demanding immediate answers and start listening inwardly. The guidance you seek is not hidden, it is simply quiet. And the quieter you become, the clearer it gets. Let go of the idea that you must figure everything out before you can feel at peace. Peace is not the reward for solving life's puzzles. It is the foundation from which solutions emerge. When you calm the mind, you allow intuition to lead. When you release the need to control outcomes, you align with outcomes that feel effortless. Life begins to move again, not through struggle, but through flow. You were never meant to carry the weight of the universe on your shoulders. You were meant to participate in it, to dance with it, to trust it. The moment you stop forcing, you start receiving. The moment you stop resisting the present, you start experiencing the miracle of being alive. And this is where God has always been with you, as you, through you. Waiting does not mean nothing is happening. It means something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Roots are growing. Foundations are being strengthened. Old attachments are dissolving. And when the time is right, when you are aligned not just in desire but in consciousness, what is meant for you will arrive without struggle, without panic, without fear. You will not have to chase it. You will not have to convince it. You will simply recognize it. So breathe, soften your body, release the tension in your mind. You are safe in this moment. You are supported in ways you cannot yet see, and you are guided by an intelligence far greater than your thoughts. Trust that. Rest in that. And remember, God has never stepped away from you. You have only momentarily stepped away from stillness. Return now. Everything you are waiting for begins there. And as you rest more deeply into this remembering, you may begin to notice something subtle yet profound. The waiting itself starts to change its texture. What once felt heavy begins to feel spacious. What once felt like absence begins to reveal itself as presence. This is because the moment you stop arguing with life, life stops arguing with you. Resistance dissolves, and in its place arises a gentle cooperation with what is. You are no longer standing outside the river demanding it flow faster. You are allowing yourself to be carried, trusting that the current knows where it is going. There is a great freedom that comes when you no longer demand guarantees from the future. The mind wants contracts, timelines, assurances carved in stone. The soul asks only for openness, and openness is the doorway through which grace enters. When you soften your insistence on certainty, you make room for miracles that could never fit inside rigid expectations. Life is creative, not mechanical. It unfolds through possibility, not prediction. And when you loosen your grip, you begin to feel the quiet excitement of being surprised by goodness. You may discover that much of what you called waiting was actually an opportunity to unlearn. To unlearn the belief that your value is measured by progress alone. To unlearn the habit of scanning the horizon for proof that you are safe. To unlearn the assumption that stillness is synonymous with stagnation. In truth, stillness is where clarity is born. It is where the fog lifts, not because you chased it away, but because you stopped feeding it with anxious attention. There is an intelligence within you that does not require effort to operate. It coordinates billions of cells, synchronizes breath and heartbeat, and guides healing without consulting your mental commentary. That same intelligence is orchestrating the timing of your life. When you align with it, you feel a sense of rightness that cannot be logically explained. Things happen at the right moment, conversations arise naturally, doors open without force. This is not luck. This is alignment. This is what happens when you stop micromanaging existence and start trusting the wisdom that sustains it. The mind often asks, what if I'm doing nothing while something should be happening? But the deeper question is, what if something essential is happening because I am doing nothing? There is a kind of action that only occurs through allowing. Just as the night allows the body to restore itself through sleep, your life restores itself when you allow periods of non-doing. In these moments, you are not falling behind, you are recalibrating. You are returning to center. And from this center, a new quality of action eventually emerges. Not frantic, not forced, not fueled by fear of missing out, but calm, precise, and inspired. You begin to act from clarity rather than compulsion. You move because it feels right, not because you are afraid of standing still. This is the difference between pushing a locked door and waiting for it to open. One exhausts you, the other invites you in. There is nothing passive about trust. Trust is an active alignment with reality. It is the choice to believe that life is fundamentally supportive, even when it does not conform to your expectations. It is the courage to release resentment toward time itself, because time is not your enemy. Time is the canvas upon which your becoming is painted. And every moment you spend resisting it is a moment you miss inhabiting it. As you continue to wait, notice how life continues to show up in small ways. A breath that feels a little deeper, a moment of calm you did not have yesterday, a subtle insight that changes how you see an old problem. These are not insignificant. They are signs that alignment is already happening. The universe does not announce its work with fanfare. It whispers through quiet shifts, gentle nudges, and moments of ease that feel almost ordinary until you realize how different you feel inside them. You are learning to live from being rather than becoming. To understand that your worth does not arrive in the future with an achievement or an answer. It is present now, inherent, unshakable. When you know this, waiting loses its sting. It becomes simply another way of being with life, another expression of trust, another chapter in a story that does not need to be rushed to be meaningful. And in this space, you may feel a deeper compassion for yourself, for the times you panicked, for the times you tried to control what could not be controlled, for the times you doubted the very force that has carried you this far. Compassion is not indulgence, it is clarity. It allows you to see that every misstep was an attempt to feel safe, every worry a misguided prayer for reassurance. When you see this, judgment softens and healing flows naturally. So stay here a little longer, in the quiet, in the trust, in the gentle unfolding. There is nothing you need to add to this moment to make it complete. You are already participating fully in life simply by being aware. And from this awareness, everything that needs to come will come, not as a reward for your patience, but as a reflection of your alignment. And as this awareness deepens, you may begin to sense a gentle reorientation taking place inside you, as if an inner compass is quietly correcting itself without instruction. You are no longer leaning forward into the future or pulling backward into the past. You are settling into the vertical axis of now, where life is actually lived. From here, everything feels less urgent and more meaningful, not because nothing matters, but because everything is finally seen in its proper proportion. The small worries that once dominated your thoughts begin to loosen their grip, not through resistance, but through irrelevance. There is a sacred intelligence in timing that the ego cannot comprehend. The ego wants speed because it believes arrival will bring relief. The soul understands rhythm and knows that relief comes from harmony, not haste. When you attune yourself to this rhythm, you stop interpreting pauses as rejection. You begin to see them as breath marks in the music of your life, necessary silences that give shape and beauty to the melody. Without them, the song would be noise. You may notice that as you trust more, you strive less. And in that lessening of effort, you paradoxically become more effective, more present, more alive. Your actions are no longer driven by the fear of falling behind, but by a quiet inner resonance that says now. And when action arises from this place, it carries a different energy. It does not exhaust you. It does not fragment you. It feels clean, simple, and aligned, as though life itself is moving through you rather than being pushed by you. Waiting, then, is revealed as a teacher. It teaches you discernment, how to tell the difference between intuition and impulse, between inspiration and anxiety. It teaches you humility, reminding you that you are a participant in life, not its manager. And it teaches you faith not as a concept to be believed, but as an experience to be lived. Faith becomes the felt sense that you are held, even when you cannot see how. The mind may still attempt to intrude with old questions. What if this doesn't work out? What if I miss my chance? But these questions lose their urgency when you realize that what is truly meant for you cannot be missed. It is not fragile. It does not depend on perfect timing or flawless decisions. It arrives through alignment, not anxiety. And alignment is always available in this moment, regardless of what the external world appears to be doing. You begin to understand that peace is not something you achieve after life finally settles down. Peace is the ground from which you meet life as it is. And from this ground, even uncertainty feels different. It feels alive rather than threatening, expansive rather than constricting. You stop demanding that life explain itself to you in advance. You allow it to unfold, trusting that clarity reveals itself in sequence, not all at once. There is a quiet joy in this way of living. Not the loud excitement that depends on outcomes, but a steady contentment that comes from being in right relationship with yourself. You stop outsourcing your sense of okayness to future events. You stop postponing your wholeness. You recognize that nothing needs to be added to you for you to be complete. You are already enough, not as an affirmation to repeat, but as a truth to inhabit. And from this knowing, compassion naturally extends outward. You see others caught in the same urgency, the same overthinking, the same restless search for certainty. And instead of judging, you understand. You know what it feels like to believe that peace is always just one step ahead. This understanding softens you. It makes you kinder, more patient, more forgiving, not because you are trying to be, but because separation no longer makes sense. You are learning to live as an expression of trust rather than a collection of strategies. To move with life instead of against it. To listen more than you plan. To allow more than you force. This does not make you passive. It makes you powerful in a quieter, more enduring way. Power rooted in alignment does not need to announce itself. It is felt in the ease of your presence, the clarity of your choices, the steadiness of your heart. And so the waiting continues, but now it feels different. It is no longer something you endure. It is something you inhabit with grace. You are not marking time. You are meeting it fully. Each moment becomes sufficient unto itself, not because it promises something else, but because it is alive, whole, and complete. And in this completeness, you finally recognize what has been true all along. You were never waiting for life to begin. Life has been waiting for you to arrive fully here. And as you arrive more fully here, you may notice that something subtle but unmistakable begins to dissolve the quiet fear that life is happening somewhere else, that meaning is delayed, that fulfillment is conditional. This fear has lived so long in the background that you may have mistaken it for reality. Yet now, in this softened awareness, it loses its authority. You begin to sense that meaning is not postponed until circumstances improve. Meaning is revealed the moment you stop resisting what is. There is a deep relief in realizing that you do not have to earn your place in the universe. You are not on probation with life. You were invited into existence because you belong here. And this belonging is not revoked when things are unclear or when progress feels slow. It is constant, unwavering, unconditional. When you feel this, even briefly, the nervous urgency to prove yourself relaxes. You stop negotiating your worth with outcomes. You rest into the simple truth of being. Waiting from this vantage point becomes intimate. It is no longer an empty hallway you pace in impatience. It is a quiet room where you meet yourself more honestly. You begin to hear your own inner guidance, not as commands or demands, but as gentle inclinations, subtle movements of energy that suggest rather than insist. And because they are not loud, you can miss them if you are rushing. But when you slow down, they become unmistakable. You may notice that what you truly long for beneath all the questions is not answers, but reassurance. Not certainty, but connection. Not control, but peace. And peace does not come from resolving every unknown. It comes from trusting the presence that remains steady amid the unknown. This presence is not outside you, waiting to be accessed someday. It is the very awareness through which you are experiencing this moment. The ego has taught you to believe that vigilance is love, that worrying means you care, that thinking endlessly about problems proves responsibility. But love is spacious, love is calm, love does not grip. When you stop overthinking, you are not abandoning responsibility. You are returning to clarity. You are allowing intelligence to operate without interference. And intelligence, when unobstructed, moves with elegance and precision. As this becomes your way of being, you may find that patience arises naturally, without effort. You are no longer counting the days until something changes. You are inhabiting the days as they are. And in doing so, you discover that life has been generous all along, offering moments of beauty, insight, and connection that were previously overlooked because your attention was elsewhere. There is a humility that emerges here, not the kind that diminishes you, but the kind that frees you. You no longer assume that you know how things should unfold. You allow yourself to be taught by experience rather than trying to instruct it. And in this openness, life reveals possibilities you could not have planned, pathways you could not have predicted, outcomes more fitting than those you once tried to force. You may notice that when you stop pushing, something else begins to pull, not with urgency, but with quiet inevitability. The right conversations, the right impulses, the right opportunities begin to appear, not as dramatic interventions, but as natural progressions. They feel right in the body before they make sense in the mind. This is how alignment announces itself, through ease, resonance, and a subtle sense of recognition. And so you continue, not with impatience, but with presence. Not with fear, but with faith that is felt rather than declared. You are learning to trust life at the pace it unfolds, to honor the wisdom of timing, to release the belief that struggle is required for things to be meaningful. You discover that what is meant for you moves toward you just as surely as you move toward it, meeting you at the precise intersection of readiness and grace. In this way, waiting becomes an act of devotion, not to an external outcome, but to the truth of who you are beneath the noise. You are no longer waiting to be saved by the future. You are being sustained by the present. And from this sustaining presence, everything that needs to emerge will do so quietly, naturally, and without strain, because it is not being dragged into existence by fear, but welcomed into being by trust. And now, as this quiet understanding settles more deeply into you, there is nothing left to reach for, nothing left to resolve, only a gentle invitation to remain with the breath as it enters and leaves without effort, to remain with the awareness that has been steady through every change, every doubt, every season of your life. You begin to sense that this awareness has never been hurried, never been confused, never been separated from the source of all things. It has simply been waiting for you to notice it again. There is a tenderness that arises here, a softness toward life itself. You no longer need to interrogate every moment for signs of progress. You no longer need to demand that the universe prove its loyalty to you. You feel, perhaps for the first time in a long while, that you are being lived as much as you are living. That something wiser than the thinking mind is gently shaping your path, not through force, but through invitation. And you realize that this wisdom has always been present, even in the moments you believed you were lost. Waiting no longer feels like standing still. It feels like being held by an intelligence that knows when to move and when to pause, when to open a door and when to strengthen the hinge. You understand now that silence is not empty. It is full of guidance. Stillness is not absence. It is presence without distraction. And in this presence, fear has nothing to cling to. It dissolves not because it is fought, but because it is no longer believed. You may notice a quiet gratitude emerging, not for everything turning out as planned, but for everything unfolding as it must. Gratitude for the unseen protections, the redirections you once resisted, the delays that spared you from paths that no longer matched who you are becoming. You see now that even the unanswered prayers carried wisdom, shaping your character, deepening your compassion, preparing you for a fuller expression of yourself. There is a deep exhale here, as if the soul itself has been holding its breath for years and has finally remembered it is safe to let go. You stop bracing against life. You stop rehearsing disappointment. You stop waiting for permission to feel at peace. Peace is no longer something you pursue, it is something you allow. And in allowing it, you realize it was never absent, only overshadowed by noise. You stand now in quiet alignment, not needing to announce your faith, not needing to defend your trust. It is felt in the steadiness of your presence, in the gentleness of your responses, in the way you no longer rush past yourself. You understand that life does not require your constant supervision. It requires your participation, your openness, your willingness to listen more than you demand. And so you move forward, not driven by urgency, but guided by clarity, not pushed by fear, but drawn by resonance. You are no longer trying to outrun uncertainty. You are walking with it, knowing it is simply the space where something new is forming. You trust that when the next step is ready, it will reveal itself, not all at once, not with drama, but with the unmistakable calm of rightness. You were never forgotten. You were never abandoned. You were never meant to struggle your way into alignment. You are meant to remember it. God has been with you in every breath, every pause, every moment of waiting that taught you how to listen instead of grasp. And now, as you rest in this remembrance, you understand that what is meant for you does not need to be chased. It arrives when you are present enough to receive it. Remain here in this gentle knowing. Let life come to you. Let clarity rise when it is ready. Let trust be your way of walking. There is nothing missing from this moment, nothing unfinished in your being. You are already home, already guided, already held exactly where you are, exactly as you are, exactly now.